This is the North Mobile Post radio show, and I am your host, David Merrill. Today I'm going to be talking about the first night of the Democratic National Convention. It was highlighted by First Lady Michelle Obama's speech. A very good speech, most pundits agree. Very rousing speech, really got the delegates in the hall pumped. She used the speech to talk a lot about her and Barack Obama's background, their upbringing and how it translates into what he does, what he believes in, and what he's pushed as legislation. She talked about how they both came up in working class families, with not a lot of money, how they had to scrape by. They both had to have student loans to get through college. And that's become a big talking point, a big issue in this election, and that's student loan debt. I believe there is over $1 trillion in student loan debt, and there's even worries that this could be the next debt bubble to pop in this country, because given the poor economic situation with 8.3% unemployment, just not a lot of great jobs out there, you've got kids coming out of college, and they have this massive student loan debt because college education is very expensive in this country, so they have this massive debt, and they can't get jobs right away. And it just puts them in such a bind. And she had a very telling statement where she said when they first were married and they were first together right out of college, their combined student loan debt was more than their mortgage. And I believe that is an issue a lot of young people can relate to. And this night clearly made a pitch to young people. The Democrats also had actor Kal Penn, who many younger people will know from the Harold and Kumar movies. He was also on, I believe he was on House on Fox, the show House. And he worked for President Obama for 2 years as well. And he came out and gave a speech, and he talked about the same issue and also brought into healthcare, and I'm going to get into that in a minute, healthcare. But yeah, that was a lot. There was a few themes they pushed throughout that: college loans, student loans, healthcare. A lot of things very important to young voters. They also clearly, just as Republicans did, made a pitch to women voters, and I would say they went even further in the going after women voters than the Republicans did. It seemed a majority of the speakers, in fact, especially early, were women speakers. And they made strong arguments. The Democratic Party always does well with women. It has since Reagan, and it looks like that is going to continue. Barack Obama has, I think, a 10-point advantage right now over women, and I would not be at all surprised to see that grow after this convention. Michelle Obama clearly made the same argument, going into the mom factor, talking about she's at the end. She said at the end of the day, she's the mom in chief first before anything else. So I think she made. I think she did a very good job on her speech. She is a. She did the speech. The contents of the speech, I think was about the same as Ann Romney's. No better, no worse. I do believe she is a far better performer though than Ann Romney was. Ann Romney, to me, she reminded me of the perfect 50s, 60s TV mom, She's the Mrs. Brady, that just kind of that ideal, that's the way she comes off, that ideal mom. Michelle Obama came off as far more real, more like a modern mom. Somebody who understands the issues modern moms face, with the Romneys, with all the money they have. People have a hard time believing that somebody like Ann Romney can understand their struggles. And, Ann Romney tried to, make that sell by saying, when they were in college, their table was an ironing board, and, they ate a lot of pasta and tuna fish. But, given that Mitt Romney's worth $200 million, that's just a hard sell to make to people. Whereas Barack Obama, his story is pretty well known. People know that he was raised by a single mother and by his grandparents, and that he came up poor and all that. That's something people know. So when, Michelle Obama, she talked about how his prized possession was a coffee table that he got out of a dumpster. So apparently President Obama was a dumpster diver. And his car was so rusted out that you could see through the floorboard to the concrete, to the asphalt. People are just going to be more apt to buy that. It's just more believable coming from the Obamas than it is coming from the Romneys, given their extreme wealth. So, yeah, overall, I thought she did a very good job, very rousing speech, like I said. The keynote speaker of the night, Julian Castro, I thought did a very good job. I liked his speech a lot. He gave, it was very similar to Marco Rubio's speech over at the Republican Party. You know, he gives the immigrant story, how his grandmother immigrated here from Mexico with nothing, worked hard to provide for her daughter, and then his mom worked hard to provide for him and his twin brother, both in politics. Sorry to go back, Julian Castro is the mayor of San Antonio, and at 37 years old, fixing to turn 38, is going to be probably one of the future stars of the party. But back to the story. Yeah, so he gives his, his background about all that and how he ended up going to Stanford and Harvard Law, and now he's the mayor. And like I said before, this is a guy who's got a future in the party. And he also laid a blistering attack on Mitt Romney and the Republicans in general. And the thing is, he's able to do it with a smile on his face. He's got a very warm smile, and he just kind of had that. And this is one reason why I was looking forward to listening to him, because like I had mentioned before, I'm not from San Antonio, but I've seen him speak before in a segment on TNT, their basketball postgame show, after Charles Barkley had made fun of San Antonio. He did a little dig back, and he's a guy who can, and I saw that, and some of the elements from that I saw in tonight's speech, how he's able to he attacked Charles Barkley, and he's able to do it with a smile on his face, and almost in a joking, jesting manner, but still getting the dig in, and that's exactly what he did tonight with Mitt Romney. And he really got in the line of the night, I think, talking about the things, Mitt Romney was going to get rid of or he was against. And when he got to health care, the whole crowd says no, but he pauses because, of course, Mitt Romney passed a health care plan very similar to Obamacare while he was governor of Massachusetts. And he pointed that out and brought that to the forefront, something Mitt Romney was, of course, running away from all these months in the election. But I definitely believe a star was born tonight in Julian Castro. That's a name you are going to hear again. I think this guy could potentially be president of the United States one day. But it will be if his brother is, I believe he's in the state legislature in Texas, and he is now running for Congress, U.S. Congress, and he's probably going to win. So those two you are going to be seeing a lot from, I think, in the future. The speech of the night, though, sadly for Democrats, didn't get aired on national TV, and that was from Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick. Patrick became governor of Massachusetts right behind Mitt Romney, so he had a unique vantage point to attack from. And he gave the most rousing speech of the night. He had that stadium absolutely rocking. And a strong line he gave said Mitt Romney talks a lot about the things he's fixed, and he says, I can tell you that Massachusetts was not one of them. That is a very strong attack. And, he gave the line, it's time for Democrats to get some backbone. And he said they're not going to allow the president to be bullied any longer. I mean, he had probably the biggest applause of the night. Very, very rousing speech. This is a guy, he said he's not, I think he was just elected in 2010. I don't believe he's going to run again in 2014. And I'm not sure if he's even said he plans on running for office any more than that, but he's definitely got a future as well in that. I think he's 56 years old maybe. He definitely has potential on the national stage if he wants it. Very good speaker, gave a very good speech. The party also aired a very moving little video for Ted Kennedy, who of course died a couple of years ago. This is the first Democratic National Convention he has not been to in quite some time, and they even used this little montage to take a hit at Mitt Romney. They showed, because Mitt Romney ran against Ted Kennedy for his Senate seat in 1994, and they showed some clips of Romney in a debate with Kennedy back then, and it showed Mitt Romney saying he was pro-choice, and all this positions he has, of course, completely flip-flopped on since then. He is now pro-life. He is against a woman's right to choose. So yeah, even with a tribute to Ted Kennedy, they managed to take a shot at Mitt Romney, and Democrats did not hold back. The earlier speakers, a lot of them, just eviscerated Romney throughout the night. And one thing I talked about earlier I wanted to get to was Obamacare. This tonight, the Democrats gave their strongest defense of the signature Affordable Care Act that they've given since the legislation was written. You know, after they passed it in 2010, they did not really. They kind of just signed the bill and walked away, and acted like it didn't exist anymore because it was polling bad because of all the fighting going on trying to get it signed. And people were just not happy with the individual mandate, and they're still not. But, of course, even ever since then, a lot of the individual pieces of the plan are very popular, such as the end of discrimination against people with pre-existing conditions, allowing kids to stay on their parents' insurance till they're 26, a lift on lifetime limits on coverage, things like that. And people are like a lot of parts of it. They like people. If you break it down, people like parts of Obamacare, but when you put it all together, you just throw the name out there, it has just a negative reaction in the polls. It's net negative for Obama. Tonight, the Democrats struck back on that and really made a push. And they had a mother come out and talk about her baby was born with a heart problem and had to have heart surgery, and that if not for the changes in Obamacare, this child would run on the lifetime cap on insurance coverage before she was 5 years old, and maybe she wouldn't even have got coverage. They said it was a pre-existing condition she was born with. So they made several moving arguments in favor of Obamacare. A lot of talk on women's issues. Overall, I would say a very strong opening for the Democratic Party. Strong speakers, I think. Cory Booker also spoke. I actually didn't get to see his speech, but he's another guy to look forward to. I think has a big future in the Democratic Party. Like I said, Julian Castro, loved his speech. I thought it was very well done, very similar to Marco Rubio. Those are the two probably biggest Hispanic names to look for in politics over the next few years. Julian Castro and Marco Rubio. And I definitely think we will be seeing a Hispanic president within 10 to 20 years, somewhere in that time frame. I'm certain it will happen. But yeah, a lot of diversity, and just like the Republicans had in the Democratic speakers, a lot of women, a lot of minorities. And that's, like I said, that's been a trend you can see. You can tell. You could probably look back over the conventions through the years, and you can see demographics shifting just by who speaks. And having both parties trot out, people from all walks of life just really shows how things are changing in this country. And I think for the better. I think diversity is a great thing. And it was great to see that. And a little more so on the Democratic side, you saw also diversity within the delegates out in the crowd. That was one area where the Republicans are behind on. They do not have a lot of minority delegates. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops going forward. But yeah, overall, great night, I think, for the Democrats. They got to be hoping to do better than the Republicans, who did not get a strong bounce from their convention. I really don't think the Democrats will either, because I believe at this point, I think people's opinions are pretty much baked in. I don't think there's a lot of undecideds. I don't think there's a lot of independents. I think you're either for the Democrats right now or you're for the Republicans. There may be a few people that are on the fence. They don't know, but I really doubt it at this point. These candidates have now staked in their positions. They are on this or that, and there's a lot of places where there's some places where they agree, but there's a lot of places where they disagree on very key issues to where voters have a clear choice. So tomorrow night we have Elizabeth Warren will be speaking. I'm very interested to hear her speech. And of course, the headline will be former President Bill Clinton, and that should be a good speech as well. So we'll have more coverage for you tomorrow. Tune back in to hear how Day 2 of the Democratic National Convention went, and we'll see you then.